Hello everyone, I'm James Jack. Welcome to Rock Your Block. I'm with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate. We serve Maryland, DC, and Virginia. My guest today is Mr. Todd Turner. For the past, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, he has been serving the city of Bowie as one of their council members. Now he's stretching out a bit, still in Prince George's County, but this time his eye is on the county council seat that is available for him and probably will be his at the end of the special election coming up. He will be representing the 4th District. Now, first of all, I would like to welcome you.
Thank you, James.
And let everybody know that Todd is not a stranger to me or Ernestine. His family, of course, is like our family. We've done lots of things together. I, of course, do not do politics because, well, in my mansion, there are many closets. I knew you would like that one. Yeah, better closets than graveyards. But Todd is one of these guys, you know him from years ago, and you say, man, why couldn't I have been like that? Why didn't I do what he did? No, I had to sit on the back seat and act a clown, and that's why I'm here, and that's why he's moving on. And I just want to wish you a lot of good luck, and with your past record in Bowie, I'm sure that the people of Prince George's County are going to be well served when they elect you. So,
I appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. I use this analogy in my campaign. You know, when you first run for office, it's almost like your first job. And it lets you know that actually our daughter, Rachel, our oldest daughter, just had her first job interview last week and got her first position for the summer. So it kind of rang true when I use this analogy. When you're going in there, you haven't really had the experience, and so it's all about promise, what you think you can do. And then if you're elected that way too the first time, then you have to prove yourself and actually do the work. So when you're talking about running for another office, which in essence is a promotion, you got to have a track record for people to look at and to say, well, what have you done in the past to be able to be successful into the future? So as I look back on, it's 8 years that I've been on the city council in Bowie, and also I've actually worked at the county council for the last 11 years as staff. Worked first for a former county council member who's now our state senator in our area. Directly for him as his director of constituent services. So if you ever had a problem or an issue, you came through me, and that's how I kind of got my reputation for when I eventually ran for office myself in the city of Bowie. And then for the last 7 years, I moved over to staff the entire county council, doing legislative work, bill drafting, committee work. So between those two experiences, both at the local level, at the city level, and actually doing the work of what a county council person does as a staff person, obviously I'm seeking the promotion now that the seat is going to be vacant. The incumbent can't run again because of term limits, so now is, I feel, the best time for me to step forward.
And get closer and closer to the governor's mansion. I kid Todd about this all the time because years ago I took a class in political campaigning at the University of Maryland under Kathy Jemison, who's probably the goddess of political candidacies in this area. Whenever there are major campaigns, people called on her, and she was able to tell them in so many ways, whether or not this candidate had an opportunity or had a chance of winning based on her knowledge of the political arena. And I learned a lot from that class that I took from her. Got a C, but C's mean that you're just like everybody else. Right. That's right. And it also means that you passed. One of the things that she always taught was, based on political experts, is that it's not a good idea to try to plow new fields. You learn from those who have gone before you, and you pattern yourself, but you sort of adjust what your promises to keep are based on the environment that you're in. So let's go back to what you did when you were, or you still are, but over the years in Bowie, what did you do that laid the groundwork for where you are now?
I think primarily, and this started when I first began my service, when I worked for Doug Peters, who was a former county council member. And as his director of constituent services, it's about serving people. If they have problems or issues, trying to help them. Now, you're not always able to help them because sometimes the problems are not necessarily at your level, or they're just too big for you to be able to take a bite out of. However, it's that opportunity to try to help people, and that's one of the reasons. I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a public servant. I've committed both my professional life and my work life to serving people, and politics is a vehicle to be able to do that. And having that experience, both being elected in my own right and then working for politicians in the past or elected officials in the past, I tell people I've seen the best, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what I try to do is forget the ugly, and that's when you see people who are doing it for the wrong reasons, and then try to remember the good, about what are the good things that you're doing. So I've been able to hopefully, through my efforts at the local level, at the city council level, put those kind of plans into action. So when you talk about constituent services, that's my number one key. If you have an issue or a problem, I set up a legislative email list using modern technology to keep people informed. They can't always come up on a Monday night to come to a city council meeting to say what their issue or concern is. But using the vehicles that we have, keep them informed about what's going on in the city, and therefore they feel part of it even though they're not physically maybe at a meeting or something like that. So that's one thing that actually started in Councilmember Peters' office and then transitioned that when I became an elected official in my own right. So it's that being close to people, going to the Homeowners Association meetings every year, going to the Civic Association meetings every year, having people see you and feel you. We did town hall meetings when I first got on the city council. The city council then went on to do its own town hall meetings as part of that process in order to get people informed. So that's kind of that outreach that you need to do to kind of do that extra mile in order for people to feel they're part of the process. And that's one of my goals as a local elected official that I would transfer when I'm successful, hopefully, to being at the county council level, because it's that communication that is the key to letting people know what's going on.
Well, at least you got a lot of experience in Bowie. Bowie now has gained a lot of recognition around the area. I remember when I used to work in Annapolis, traveling through Bowie, traveling through, all the other areas. I never gave Bowie a thought.
Right.
I left the area, I came back, and I was just amazed at how it had boomed and how it had drawn a lot of professionals into the area. And that is key, to draw people into the area, professionals and other people who can be trained in positions they never imagined before.
Right.
Now,
I will just say, James, that's one of the reasons we actually moved to Bowie, as you know. I'm from New York originally. My wife is from Maryland. And so we met up in school up in New York, and then after about a 10-year period decided to come back down here so she could be closer to her family. But what we found ourselves doing, where she got work down in Charles County, I wasn't sure what I was going to do when we first came down here. We found ourselves being drawn to Bowie because of the things that you just talked about. And one of the things that I've discovered representing the city over the past 8 years and living there for almost over 10 years now is, it's a big city. It's over almost 56,000 people. It's the largest municipality or city in Prince George's County. It's about the 5th largest in the state of Maryland. But it still has that small town feel that you still know people. Obviously we had a history as a suburban federal worker enclave in history. And we're seeing some of the transition now that the rest of Prince George's County has seen as far as our demographics. We're now a majority minority city for the first time after the 2010 census. But even with that demographic change, we have kept the same values and concerns that everybody has, I think, in Prince George's County, and in particular in the county council district, because while Bowie is a main part of the county council district, we also have the city of Greenbelt, which is the next largest municipality or city in Prince George's County, has its own unique history, place in the world, coming up under the Roosevelts and being a green city. They do things the way they like to do things. And then we have obviously unincorporated areas that aren't part of a municipality that would be represented as part of that district. They're all the same. People all want the same kind of things, whether you live in Bowie, in Greenbelt, or anywhere else in Prince George's County or in this region.
One of the things I wanted people to see is a couple of graphics in fact, One of them is a graphic showing all of the counties here in the National Capital Area. Right. That's for Northern Virginia, for suburban Maryland, and also the District of Columbia. And Bowie is to the east. Right. So if geographically you don't really know where Bowie and Prince George's County are, another graphic that I will show you will actually show you the districts in Prince George's County and where the 4th district is. Right. When we come back in a minute, I read an article not too long ago about how the 4th district is becoming probably the what's the term for?
Bellwether.
Yes. The bellwether for this area. So many things have happened in Prince George's County, and with the 4th district, when we come back, I want you to talk about how that development has taken shape, and also how it has become sort of like a model for other parts of the county that I know that the county council now is working together to really make people take notice of Prince George's County, stretching from the National Harbor all the way to Laurel, and just incredibly phenomenal growth that finally the media is taking note of and giving credit to. That was long before, this happened long before the president came to Costco and some of those other areas. Oh, by the way, did you get a chance to shake his hand?
I did not go to that event. Unfortunately, I had to work that day. However, I've seen the president, and he has had the opportunity to come to Prince George's County, and particularly to Bowie in the last couple of occasions.
Times, yes.
Particularly at Bowie State University, which is in the county council district and our major higher education institution there, as well as Michelle Obama has also been most recently in Bowie, went to a daycare in our area. And has also been recognized up at Bowie State University as well.
Yes, and when you mentioned Bowie State University, for those of you who can remember when was it the Challenger that exploded, the shuttle, one of the people who was on board was a professor at Bowie State University. So it's not all just the mega universities, it's the small universities like Bowie State University, Coppin State. These schools, Towson State, they're here in Maryland, and they should get the recognition that Northern Virginia Community College should get also here in Virginia. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to talk about how this development is really affecting the economic growth for Prince George's County, and as a result, making the entire area more healthy. We'll be right back.
To order a DVD or VHS copy of this program or any program seen on Channel 10, call 571-749-1101.
Hello, everyone. Once again, we're back. It was a very short break, but we've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to move very quickly. My guest today is Mr. Todd Turner. I should say Council Member Todd Turner, because he currently holds sway in the city of Bowie as a council member, but now he's getting ready to move up to the next level, and then from there, Mr. Baker, watch out. Are you on his heels, or at this point, what do you want to do?
James, one race at a time. You can't start thinking into the future, because then that'll trip you up for this one. The race I'm in now is going to be competitive. There is a challenger in there, so I take nothing for granted. Anybody who knows me knows I'm going to work as hard as I can to be successful. Obviously, I believe I'm the most experienced, given my experience both at the local level as an elected official and my work at the county council level. Hopefully, at least the residents who I've currently represented in the city of Bowie know the work I've done. My mission is to get that message out to the other areas of the county council district, since it's more than just the city of Bowie. Obviously, I have good working relationships with the other elected officials, both at the state level and at the local level up in the city of Greenbelt, who are my colleagues as municipal elected officials, and have their support. So I think that will make the difference, but I'm not taking anything for granted. So let me get through this one first. As much as I feel I'm confident and able, you never know in this, and you have to work hard to do it. So.
Well, I remember a couple of years ago when you had the little soiree at the restaurant over in Bowie, and Mr. Baker came over, introduced himself, and I thought, okay, here's a guy who's, he tossed his hat in the ring, who knows what. I didn't know that much about him,
Right.
but I did learn a lot about him. The next time I saw him was at your house, and he instantly remembered me, called me by my name, remembered Ernestine, and I thought to myself, this is a different type of political body now that we're immersed in. This is a different era for politics. Right. So if you're in Prince George's County, it's not business as usual. You've got to be on your game, and you've got to be held accountable. And you are held accountable because people now are very savvy about what you do, when you do it, and how you do it, and how it affects them.
I agree with you. I mean, obviously, it's fair to say that we've had our issues as Prince George's County most recently with our past leadership, and I think we're at the point where we're turning the page to make us a regional power player. We were talking about some of the economic issues and growth that's occurred in Prince George's County compared to the rest of the region. So I think we're well positioned to take advantage because, one, we have more land available to us. Obviously, we have 15 metro stops in Prince George's County that haven't seen the same type of development that have occurred other parts of the region.
1A, the 50 corridor, the 450 corridor, right. The BW Parkway, 95. It's not New York Avenue for
right.
the old reasons. It really is a gateway to. Right. It's a commerce. It's a hub for commerce.
So I mean, so we're seeing some of that. Obviously, that's been set up. Obviously, people know about National Harbor on the southern side of Prince George's County, and obviously the most recent efforts and the award of a license to MGM to be able to come in to provide an entertainment and casino venue at National Harbor,
and other large companies
right,
too,
we opened the Tanger outlets just last year. Obviously, in my district and closer to the northern side of Prince George's County, we're having a very aggressive effort in order to lure the Federal Bureau of Investigations to come into the Greenbelt Metro area as a transit-oriented development that the federal government has focused in on. That's a project that would be directly in my district at the county council level. Farther north, up in Laurel, you have Conterra, which is another major development along the 95 corridor. And then you have other pockets around, Woodmore Town Center with the more high-scale eateries and trying to the Wegmans there. So we're at the point where we're continuing to grow, and hopefully what you've seen around the rest of the region is now have the opportunity to come to Prince George's County.
And one of the things that Ernestine and I take advantage of every day is the Sports and Learning Center, where it gives not only in Landover, but there are other centers around the Prince George's area. There's one for senior citizens in Laurel, where you can be fit and be fit with others, and as long as you know about these situations, that are available, these opportunities that are available for you, then there's no reason for you to think, well, there's nothing for me to do in Prince George's County. There is so much to do in Prince George's County. All you have to do is go to the New Carrollton station, and in a couple of hours you'll be in New York or on your way to England or whatever the case may be.
It's one of those situations where, by spurring this commercial development in the county, two things. One, will provide jobs and opportunities for the residents of Prince George's County. The second thing is that we diversify our tax base. As you look around the west of the region, here in Virginia or in the District of Columbia, there's a better balance between the commercial and the residential property taxes. In Prince George's County, as a more suburban county, and the city of Bowie, which is in the same boat, most of the people who are paying the freight are residential property owners. And, that's not a good situation. As a property owner myself, you can't keep on going back to the same well to be able to provide those services. So you need to expand that. And that's something that we've been able to do in the city of Bowie. And if you want to point to some of the things that I've done as a means of saying what I'm going to do in the future, one, we were, even before the county developed its own economic development incentive fund, we did one at the local level in the city of Bowie, put aside money in order to attract and keep businesses that are there. And we've had our largest private employer, who we actually got from Annapolis about 5-6 years ago, outgrew the space they were in and were considering whether or not they needed to move. But they liked being in Bowie for some of the same reasons that we talked about earlier. So what we were able to do is use the incentive fund to let them go to another commercial office building within the city limits, and we provided for a period of time transportation to be able for them to be around our Bowie Town Center, which is where their main office is located. But they wanted those people to have the same opportunity to go to lunch and meetings and that. So we put the money into keeping that business here, and that's about 700 jobs for our city. The second thing that I'm very proud of is that we have developed a Bowie Business Incubator program with Bowie State University. And again, this is focused on small businesses. Most of the businesses in the city of Bowie are under 5 employees. Most of them are home-based businesses. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to be able to grow in our city and therefore stay, because usually, as you see with other business incubators around the state and around the country, once a business is established their roots, it's more likely they're going to stay there. So hopefully we've had about 8 to 10 businesses go through that program over the last couple of years. Some of them have grown up as part of that, and others are still in that process of getting to that next stage. So those are the type of things that I can point to, actual improvements or programs that we've been able to implement at the local level that we can utilize and point to as a reason why I should be the next county council person.
Well, I'm quite sure that while you've been on the campaign trail, people have pointed the finger at you and asked, well, what are you going to do about the schools? Right. And, you know, the truancy rates or the dropout rates or the literacy rates, all those things that, you know, are common across America. We have it here, not only in Prince George's County, but the entire area. What's going to change with you and the new county council for Prince George's County?
The first thing I will say is I'm the product of public school education, not here in the region, but up in New York where I grew up. Both of my daughters are public school students, one in high school, one finishing elementary school. So we have a personal commitment, skin in the game, so to speak, with about improving our education system in Prince George's County. And I have to say, my wife and I have been very pleased about the opportunities that they've had going to school in Bowie. Just like you talked about how Bowie is starting to get recognized around the rest of the county, I think it's also a model for what other areas of the county can do, whether it's parental involvement, whether it's having staff that's consistent and knowledgeable and well-trained. Those are the type of things that we need throughout the county. And one of the things that we've just undergone is a change in the structure of the school board. As a county council member, you know, I'm not running for school board.
Right.
I'm not going to be there telling you how to, other than as a parent, how you educate the students. We have a separate elected and appointed board that is now, the model that we're using. However, in the time that we've been in the public school system in Prince George's County, we've gone through probably 4 different types of school boards, and we've gone through about 7 or 8 superintendents or chief executive officers. With the appointment of Dr. Kevin Maxwell, who's our current CEO for the public school system.
From Annapolis.
He came out Anne Arundel County as superintendent, but he started his career in Prince George's County, and he actually lives in Bowie, so that's an added benefit for us that we have a good working relationship with him. His wife actually worked at Bowie High School for 30 years and just recently retired. But he, same way, he has a proven track record that if you give him the opportunity and time to be successful in moving the education system forward. As a county council member, we have a fiduciary responsibility because we pay the bills for the school board. It's a $1.8 billion budget, and we have the obligation to make sure that money is well spent. Now, we don't necessarily dictate where it's spent. I mean, that's why you have a school board and a superintendent and the county executive, but we're a partner in making sure that the money is spent wisely and it gets to the classroom.
Okay.
So that's my obligation.
Okay, we only have a couple of more minutes left, and I have some skin in the game also here because we've gone through that housing debacle. And, when there was lots of fruit, we all harvested and had a good time. Right. But we see a brighter future for the housing industry. What is happening in Prince George's County that you think you will be involved in as far as, making sure that we are more stable with housing?
Right. I mean, obviously, just like the rest of the region, unfortunately, Prince George's County has been ground zero for the foreclosure crisis in the state of Maryland. We're still trying to recover from that. We've seen some of our prices rise over the last year or so. However, we're still seeing more foreclosure activity as well. As staff at the County Council, I staff the Transportation, Housing, Environment Committee. We just undertook a year-long effort, which I helped draft a report on, a foreclosure task force report that had about 16 recommendations about what the county should do as opposed to the federal government or the state government, which has more of a role than we do, but how we as a local government at the county level are able to improve the housing market with respect to those programs. So those factors are, having been involved in that year-long process, it's about implementing those now within the resources that we have.
Well, we're quite a bit of time away from the election, so you have a standing invitation to come back, and we'll reverse the order and we'll start talking about housing and schools first, and then we'll get around to talking about the duck ponds in Bowie.
I will say, at least for this year, the election is going to be earlier than normal in Maryland. It's going to be on June 24th, so that's usually it's in the fall, and we have early voting starting June 12th through the 19th. So you have to get that message out because they're not used to voting that early.
Well, they'll see it on the screen.
So that's one of our messages, is to make sure people know it is an earlier election.
Okay, that's great. That's really great, and it's great that you were here to talk to us. I'm James Jack. My guest today, Todd Turner, City Council member now with Bowie, but on his way to the County Council District 4 seat. Thank you for being my guest also. Until the next time, you have a wonderful time being who you are, because how else would we know you? Bye.